Hello and welcome back to the farm. So today we're working on a 440,000 series Briggs and Stratton engine off of my Cub Cadet Lawn Tractor. It developed an oil leak. Actually had it before I bought it, but it's the sump cover right in here, right above the oil filter. It's common that this happens. I've changed, I don't know, dozens probably at this point to these, and this one appears to be no different. It doesn't, however, seem to be common in, like, the spot, for example, where it blows out or gets sucked in or fails for whatever reason. That the oil leaks seem to come anywhere around the cover, and I don't know whether it's a bolt backs off or loses load for some reason. I've never had one that had a bolt falling out or drastically loose, but this is what we got today, and we'll get this thing cleaned up a little bit. I got oil draining out of it at the moment, and we'll bring you back for what we see on the inside. In addition to fixing the oil leak, we're also going to address this carburetor. It had issues whenever I got it. There was water in the fuel tank. It had sat a bunch, so I did a little bit to it just to try to get it going. Used it all summer, basically played around with it. And if you look back here, I think we must have had a mouse at some point, because there's a shrink tube there in a place where it wasn't from the factory. There's some marks up here on that coil, another piece of shrink tube, and look at that. There's some silicone on this plug wire. That's, something that I would have done. So maybe I already owned this before. I don't know. If nothing else, the guy that did and me definitely could have been friends. Got the sump off. This piece over here by the starter, I tore that getting it off. This long piece over here, which is over where it was leaking, that was loose already in there. Whenever I took the cover off, it actually fell into the sump as soon as I broke it free. So most likely, that's the culprit. We'll get this cleaned off of here and bring you back once again. As a bit of a sidebar on the oil leak part of the project here, I got the muffler and we'll call it the shroud, heat shield cover, whatever it is. It was all rusted, so I've cleaned it up, tossed some black on it using this Duplicolor DE1635. This stuff sticks to just about everything. Probably way overkill, but hey, if it works, it works. All right, so here we go. I didn't think that I needed to show me scraping gaskets off, so I didn't. Got a little bit of black RTV on there, just a film really, and I did that to both sides. Got everything really nice and clean. I lubed up the, we'll call it the, main bearing, I guess, where it goes into the bottom cover. Got the gasket. It's sitting over here. This is a piece of farm store paper that I traced a cheap gasket kit onto. And what I found out is that the cheap gasket kits, the gaskets aren't really all that great, but they do at least have the right shape. There's a lot of aftermarkets available that are not that great, and even some of the really good-looking, almost perfectly badged kits I found are actually knockoffs. So this has been my solution. Just trace it onto a piece of known good paper. Put a little bit of your favorite sealer on there. Indian head gasket shellac works just as well probably as anything. I would have used that, except I didn't have any here at the farm, so I had this. I know this will work just fine as well. Got the cover back on here, torqued the bolts up. I added a remote drain hose since this is going back on my mower, make it a little bit easier for me. As a helpful hint, if you're going to do one of these 3 bolts right here, this is your oil pump. Rather than trying to line all that stuff up from the other side, take that off. There's just an O-ring seal underneath there. You're not going to ruin anything. There's no gaskets to replace. I mean, if you are doing this and thinking ahead of time, if you really want to get a new O-ring for it, you can. I've put lots of them back together, use the same O-ring. Makes it a lot easier because you can line everything up from the underside after you've put the cover on and just drop the pieces in, and turn them and line them up where they need to go, rather than trying to fiddle with the cover and get it onto the dowels and over the crankshaft where the seal is and not flip the spring out of the seal and all dealing with all that. just makes things go a little bit smoother on the reassembly. Up next, we'll get the governor hooked back up here, and I'm going to make a separate video of actually repairing the carburetor. Just make that a different subsection to this video. Go and check that out if you didn't see that already. All right, we get the carburetor back on. Again, if you're interested, go check that video out. I put in a new breather hose. The old one was cracked pretty bad, so that's where a lot of this oil sort of vapor probably, it's got old dirt in it now. That's probably where that came from. Hooked up the throttle and the choke linkages, which is there and here. Got the necessary wires plugged in. Put the battery back in it, and, it's dead. No surprise, 3 things you get on the farm: dead battery, out of gas, flat tire. So it's not out of gas and all the tires are up, so naturally battery's next. So I'm not going to buy one. I'm sure that it needs replaced, but I'm not going to buy one until spring. So got the charger on it. Hopefully that holds enough or gets high enough to start this thing up here in a couple minutes, and we'll see what we got.
Well, you just saw me have it running there. Got a little bit of a cold, so I could excuse my raspiness. But it looks like we got a bad fuel pump too, but that's going to be for another time. We're going to conclude on the video here for fixing the oil leak and the other few random things that we did. Got it all back together. It is running, and I guess I'll get a fuel pump, and I'll be back. Thanks for watching.